All right. Okay, fine. Okay, Sahil. So, what problem would you like to work on in today's session?
Anxiety, distress, a lot of chaos is there basically. So yeah,
And would you be okay with your session being transmitted on live YouTube right away and then being there forever?
of course,
All right. Okay. So
of
you
course,
give
yeah,
consent. You give this consent. Do you have a pen and paper?
I do. I do. Yeah,
All right. So you
I
said
do.
that anxiety, chaos. These are a few things that you want to work on, right? So if we had only one session
Yes.
to work on, what would be the most pressing problem that you would like to work on?
Um, I would say. So, has does it have to be anxiety, or can it be guilt, uh, or anger, or what? I
It
mean,
could be anything, but today we are focusing on anxiety, a
so
demonstration
let's
of
do that.
how to
Yeah,
work on anxiety.
anxiety is the one that I want to address today. Yeah.
Okay, and what kind of anxiety would you like to work on?
Uh, so I should be giving you an example. Basically, because of some bad career decisions in series, whenever a new opportunity comes up in my life, um, I relate those mistakes to the upcoming opportunities. And before someone else comes and rejects me or assesses me, I do that to myself. And then, a pattern starts going on in my mind, that, okay, that happened. So this has to be a reflection of that. And this will happen again. And, a kind of, should I do this? Should I do this? Or should I do that? A lot of, you know, inaction is the result of that,
All right. So you mean
basically.
to say that you make negative predictions based on what has happened in past.
Exactly. Yes.
It
Yes.
also
Yes.
interferes with your decision making. That what do you need to do. At the same time, it
Exactly.
causes you some distress, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All
And
right.
it
Okay.
basically a negative, big negative self talk is the bottom line.
Right. Okay. Amy, I'm sorry. I tried to unmute you, but I could not take you up. But definitely, will give you a chance tomorrow or day after. So, Sahil, do you also feel depressed along with anxiety?
I do. Yeah, I do. Depression is there. Most of the times it's anger, but depression is there. Certainly there. Yes.
Okay, I understand. Do you also have thoughts of killing yourself?
I did. So right about in the months of January and February, they were quite recurrent, but then it kind of mellowed down, and now it's much more mollified. Like the frequency then was about 4 to 5 days a week, and now it's about 1 in 10 days. But it's still there.
Is it just a thought, or you have
No, no, no,
intent
no,
of
no.
killing
I
yourself?
yeah. It's like so I don't know. I don't want to kind of disturb anyone here, but it has to be said out. But I imagine that if the things, if the pictures that the anxiety prints in my mind, if it actually is to happen, and if there is a gun, I would just, it's like that. So I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be doing anything because my actions, my decisions, and everything, it depends a lot
But
on
you do
other
you
people's
do
decisions.
have an intent to harm yourself, right?
Yeah, the
Not
intent will
necessarily a plan to do
materialize.
so. Do you have a
No,
plan?
there is no plan. There is
No
no
plan to do
plan.
so, right?
Yeah,
And
no.
how likely is it that you will harm yourself in the coming week?
No, no. I mean, I've got a couple of interviews, so I don't plan to kill myself before interviewing. So yeah,
All right. Okay. So if at any point you can reach out to me, and
perfect. Yeah,
it will help you out with that, right? Okay.
absolutely.
So let's work on your anxiety. How willing are you to work on your anxiety?
Uh, I am very much willing because I have visualized myself in the future. There is a possibility that I am mentally much more composed, mentally much more strong, and it's just a picturization. You just picturize yourself giving out to people, being more, being the giver rather than the consumer, and that makes it uh, a big prerequisite ki I should be mentally calm, mentally stable, and for me that requires my anxiety to just lay down. I want to do it, and yeah.
What would you like to do with your anxiety? You would like to feel completely careless or care nothing
So
about what you
basically,
might be
I
worried
if I
about?
if I if I just lay it out very simply, I know that the things that are going to cause me anxiety are always going to be there somewhere placed in the parts of my life. You know, they are not going to disappear. What I want to do is arm myself. I want to enhance my own arsenal of skills, techniques, thought processes. That's what I want to do, basically.
So you want to feel differently about what may happen in future?
Um, I'm not sure about if I want to feel differently, what can happen in the future, but I sure want to feel differently about myself as a person who is handling those things, right? Because there are some terrible things that which are going to happen related to my family, related to my relationships, related to those sinusoidal curves in my career. But how do I feel about myself? Because right now I feel like a failure because of the
Right.
decisions I made. I
Now, these
don't
are
want to feel like a
depressive
failure.
feelings. When you say that, you feel like a failure, these are
Right,
depressive
right,
feelings. But
right,
in the beginning of the session, you mentioned that, you feel about future, that, for
right.
instance, that
Yeah,
some things may happen in future again.
right.
And currently you feel anxious about that, right?
Yeah, that's because I see a very negative the perspective is very negative about the future.
Yeah, so let's stick to that.
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
now, when
exactly.
we think negatively about future, we may have
Mhm.
primarily two types of feelings. One is hopelessness, where we
Okay,
feel drained of energy and we feel down that things
right.
are not going to work out well for me.
Mhm.
Another feeling we may feel when we think negatively about the future is anxiety, where we feel more agitated, and then we might start thinking that, oh my god, what if this happens? Oh my god, what if that doesn't happen?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
one is agitation where you feel anxious, and another is very drained where you feel hopeless. Which of these would you like to work on?
Um, I feel drained, so I would like to work on that. Yeah,
Okay, so
I feel
I think
drained.
that you feel hopeless about future, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. A
So
large part of it is hopelessness.
I think we need to work on hopelessness first in order to work on your anxiety, because in both feelings we have a negative prediction of future.
Yeah.
So if you were to feel what we call as realistically hopeful about future, how would that make a difference from tomorrow onwards?
Um, if this thing solidifies in my mind that there is a percentage of positivity in the future, I think I would like to slowly magnify it. I would like to see if I can do something to increase that percentage, right? Because abhi agar 90-10 hai, then I would like to do my part to make it 88-12, 85-15. Yeah,
Okay. So if you were realistically hopeful, I'm not
yeah,
saying that everything will be fine and turn out very good
exactly.
for you,
Yeah,
and then you will become a billionaire or in no time. You may someday, but I want you to be realistic about the future, which is there are three ways in which we can look at future. One would be unrealistically hopeless, which is even if things that are gonna happen better, that you still feel hopeless about it. One would be unrealistically hopeful, which is everything is gonna be all right and I don't have to worry about anything, so you become more complacent. And another way would be realistically hopeful, which is optimistic, realistically optimistic, that that there are bad and good things may happen, but you choose to focus on the optimistic part, which is also realistic and not unrealistic. So does this make
right.
sense that you want to be realistically optimistic about future?
Yes,
Excellent.
yes. Again,
Excellent.
yeah,
My
exactly.
question was, how would it make a difference? You mentioned that if you were realistically hopeful or optimistic, then you will increase the chances of things going in your favor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I would like to, yeah.
So
The
could
the
you write
the,
this
the
goal
whole
down?
spectrum. Exactly. I would do that. That's actually better. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Oh,
So the goal for today's session would be first to
Yeah,
feel realistically hopeful. Now, this is a part goal today that we're going to work on. Realistically optimistic about future, right?
right.
Could you give me a specific incident when you felt hopeless? Now, this specific incident ideally would be a typical example where you consistently feel hopeless, and it could be repetitive, and it's going to happen in future as well, so that you can react differently next time.
Um, right. So whenever I um, so whenever I attempt to do certain things to make myself ready to move out of India, my career wise, you know, things fall apart before I even start.
Mhm.
So that's where, and this have been repeating since the past 3 years, and now it has, like, my mind is primed, basically, you know, if that makes sense. Uh, it basically it has made me think about it like that whatever I do, it will result into something nil or something negative, basically.
Okay, now this is a theme. This is an area where you feel hopeless, right? Now,
Right.
could you pin down a specific incident when you felt really hopeless about what you just mentioned?
Yeah, there was a period from, I would say, November or December 2017 to about June 2018. That's about 6 to 7 months, where when I was out of India, and I applied to about more than
Could you give me a
thousand.
specific recent incident, Sahil? For instance, last Wednesday, there was a call from this person, and then I really felt
Yeah,
hopeless. Something like this. A very
right.
specific
Yeah,
recent.
yes, exactly. So there is a multinational company which was supposed to call me. We kind of, decided on the interview. There was supposed to be an introductory call, and then on the very just a couple of days before the interview was going to happen, they just uh, they just kind of blew it up by saying that, okay, the HR department is not deciding to bring students internationally, bring people internationally. So sometimes there are things which are in my control, sometimes there are things which are not out of my control, but every time it falls down, and it has become a pattern. And when it repeats so
Wait,
many
pause.
times,
You just
you don't
mentioned
have
one thing.
anything else to
Every
say.
time it falls down, right? Every time it falls down, right?
Yeah,
Now, this was a very
every
specific
time it falls
incident.
down.
Now, it's a very ideal example of how you feel hopeless in situations, right? Um, can you
Yeah,
make three columns on the page? One, A, B, and C. Make three columns, A, B, and C.
yeah.
The A would stand for a trigger. B would stand for what's that?
B would stand for feelings,
No. B thoughts.
behavior.
Thoughts.
Oh, all right, all right.
And C is
It is
for
this, right?
this is not a test. C stands for
It feels like
okay. If at
usually
all it
stands for
is a test,
cat,
then
but
people are judging me, not you. All right. How good I am at therapy.
all right.
So C would stand for consequence or reaction. A stands for trigger. B stands for thoughts, and C stands for reaction.
Correctly.
Now the trigger here appears to be the HR department made an announcement, right?
Yes, yes, they did.
So could you write that in the A section, which is announcement by HR?
Announcement by HR. Right, that's the trigger. Yeah.
Okay. And then C reaction, how did you feel?
The reaction was, I feel that this is not going to happen. I'm never getting out of here. I'm never going to, you know, be where I want to be, because it
That
feels
is a
like it's
thought.
not.
That is a thought. Like, how did you feel? In one word, feelings are, depressed, anxious, hopeless, angry, hurt, guilty, ashamed.
It was a mixture of uh, anxious and guilt, basically.
Guilt.
They, yeah, because I always feel that it always starts with the fact that I made a lot of mistakes in the past, so somehow it connects to that, and I start feeling anxious because of it.
We,
Why did
we
I
are
do that?
examining a situation where you felt hopeless. Did you feel hopeless in this situation?
I did, yeah, yeah. It's like these happen in stages. After everything happens, the bottom line is I do feel hopeless.
Okay, so let's
Like
work
this
on
is not
hopelessness today,
gonna
because
happen.
these feelings seem to be,
Yeah,
it's like a biryani. I'm sure that there are a lot of ingredients here, like not just rice.
right.
Let's
So let's
focus on
pick up the
rice today.
chicken. Yeah.
Yeah, let's focus on the
Okay, right.
rice
Rice
today.
is good. Yeah,
The
rice
essential
is good. Like,
ingredient would
sure,
be something. I
exactly.
see. We never feel completely purely some kind of feeling. It's always mixed, and it could be a cocktail of feelings or a biryani of feelings. So let's focus on hopelessness as of now. I'm choosing to
Yeah.
work on hopelessness because if you're realistically hopeful, then you will also engage in therapy further. Number one, and even if you drop out of therapy, if you feel hopeful, then you might figure out ways to deal with the problem much better, right? So this is why I'm
Okay.
choosing to work on hopelessness first. So you
Right.
mentioned another thought, one thought that made you hopeless, and the thought was,
That this is not going to happen. This will
okay,
not
can you write this down in the B
materialize.
section?
Yeah.
This is not going to happen. Now I'm going to refine this ABC fully. The A
Right.
was an announcement by the HR department.
Right.
B was this is not going to happen,
Right.
and the C was hopelessness.
Right.
What did you do after feeling hopeless?
I I discontinue my actions, my effort into it because it feels like now that it is hopeless.
Could you be specific? What actions did you discontinue to do?
Connecting with people, networking, the applications, the real applications to
Okay,
the
you
job
stopped
basically.
applying, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You stopped applying. Correct. Write
yeah.
this down in the B. Sorry, the C section.
Right,
Stopped applying.
right.
Did you also do something else
I sometimes kind of binge
in this
sleep.
situation? In this specific situation, did you do something else?
Um, no, I mean that's the result. I kind of it's like an internal moaning, and
Yeah, yeah.
after
That's
that,
what I'm interested in. Internal moaning. What is that?
yeah.
For how many hours did you moan?
Oh man, I mean, it depends on how close it was because sometimes, okay, in this particular situation, it goes on for like 2 days.
Oh,
Yeah, the
interesting.
day
So
that
2 days.
happened and one
Do you
day
know what is
after.
called? What it is called?
I mean, I don't have the exact word for it, but I have phrases. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Use your phrase.
the one that I just mentioned, it's internal moaning, and it's
Moaning.
kind of,
Okay. All right. So write this
yeah.
down. Moaned for 2 days.
mm,
We call
Something
this rumination.
bad.
Yeah, we call this
Call
rumination
it
where you brood about
right.
something that has happened in past or probably future. So it could be worrying, it could be sulking, it could be brooding, it could be rumination, anything. But it's a
Yes.
royal waste of time. It only ruins your mood, doesn't do any problem
Mm.
solving, and it also keeps you away from activities that might actually change the or alter the future in some way, right? I'm more interested in this moaning because it is the most dysfunctional part of the whole reaction of you're being hopeless.
Can I ask a question here?
Sure.
If it is a royal wastage of time, why does it feel that I have to do it? Why does everything in my body and in my mind gives me justifications that नहीं अभी तो बैठ के मोन अभी तो बैठ के ruminate करना. I have to spend time on brooding on this. I don't have any uh, motivation to just get up and start doing the same things again.
Right. See, basically, it has a purpose. When we worry or mourn, we have positive appraisals of mourning, that we are convinced that if I sit and sulk now, it's going to be helpful for me. And if I don't sit and sulk about it right now, then I'm probably not doing anything. So if you
I'm
don't,
not honoring it, basically.
yeah, I'm not honoring. So it could be anything. It could be one that, if I don't sulk now, then you feel guilty that you're not doing anything in your head.
Yes.
And or sometimes we mistake moaning as problem solving, which is like totally different things. In problem solving, you focus on what needs to be done in future, right? And in moaning, what did I do in past that landed me in this situation, and how things are going to get bad. So there is a focus on the problem in future or past in moaning, whereas there is a focus on problem solving or actions in problem solving, as we say. So
Right.
where was your focus largely? Was it on the problem, or was it on the solutions?
It was majorly on the problem.
Correct. So mostly, I would say you were moaning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's what rumination is. Now let's get back to the B, which is, things are not gonna pan out well. What was the exact thought? Things are never gonna work out.
Yeah, this is not gonna happen.
This is not gonna happen, right? Now, do you think that your hopelessness, which is very, very unhelpful to you, which also leads you to moaning, sulking, not doing any problem solving, also withdrawal from applying more, which could have raised the probability or the odds that you might, get the job, or things might work in your favor. So, do you think your hopelessness, the entire C, comes from the trigger that the HR made an announcement, or does it come from your own thoughts?
I think I mean, yeah, it does feel like it originates from the trigger because if I ask myself if the HR wouldn't have said this, would this reaction be taking place at all? But there is this thought. Now that I've written it down, it kind of makes it more visible. This thought connects the trigger and the reaction. So yeah, it's a thought which basically makes me feel
Excellent.
that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm not undermining the role of the trigger here. Trigger does act as a trigger. We call it as an antecedent event, or the event that triggered your thoughts, but it does not cause the feelings that you have. So, the HR's announcement did not make you hopeless, but the HR's announcement only triggered your thoughts, which made you hopeless. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does. And yeah,
How is it a good
yeah.
news?
No, it's not a good news. It
It
just,
is. It is.
this,
It is a good news.
yeah.
It is good news. How is it good news?
Why is it good news? I
Of
can't
course it
control
is.
my thoughts. This is involuntary. I mean, this thought has to come. If I'm so close to getting a job outside India and if something happens which is not out of my control repeatedly,
You know
something
what?
comes from
You
inside that,
think
okay,
that these
this is
thoughts are
not meant to
automatic,
be.
right?
Yeah, I mean, and
And
natural.
there's
Not
nothing you
even
can do.
automatic.
No, no, no. They're natural. There is nothing wrong in thinking that way. They're natural for sure. If I was in your situation, I'm human first. So I may also have a
Yeah,
similar thought that, this is not going to work out.
yeah,
But I take up the responsibility that this thought, this is not going to work out, is my thought. And I respond to that thought differently.
right, right. Okay, this is kind of slowing down and breaking down the process because, to be honest with you, I mean, I hope that I'm speaking for everyone here. The so this so the journey from the trigger to the consequence is very fast. You know, it's
Like this.
you don't observe the thought. Yeah, you don't observe that the thought has caused this. So I mean, what it seems to me that you want me to do is kind of slow down the process and observe that the thought is coming there from which all of these reactions are happening.
Exactly.
But it still doesn't. I still don't get it. Why is it a good news?
That's the
I'm
next
still
step.
stuck there. I'm sorry.
See, you know why?
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not saying that the event does not contribute at all to your hopelessness. I'm saying that it does. The bad part about the events is that external events are largely, if not entirely, they're largely beyond our control.
Yeah, they are. Of course, they are.
Right. But if you don't want to feel hopeless, but want to feel realistically optimist, then another factor in the feelings is your thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, your thoughts can be modified. I wouldn't say use the word control. I would use the word modify.
Mhm.
Because
In
the event
yeah,
happened and it went away. If event made you upset, then why did you also stay upset for 2 days?
the upsetness is coming from the inside, right? The event
Where inside? From
is,
your kidneys, from your bladder, for your
I don't
liver?
know, something here.
Yeah,
Of
what is that?
course,
What
it has got
happens
to be with
here?
the upper body. It's a, I mean, it's a box of negativity, man. It's I can't define
Let's
it.
let's
It's like
let's let's
the
let's define it. Negativity means what? Negative thoughts?
it's a picture that you kind of print inside your own mind about you and the possibilities that are going to happen with you, and somehow the
Are all the
events kind of
processes of brain. We
reinforce those
call we call
pictures.
it cognition. All the processes of brain that may be called as thoughts, or something that
Right.
does not come out as a thought. It could be another process. So we call it cognition, but
Right.
let's keep it simple. We'll call it thought,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is you also stayed upset because the thoughts continued. You revised these thoughts over 2 days. And
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm,
did.
I'm saying that that is the dysfunctional part here. That is a problematic part here because you revised similar thoughts for 2 days,
I did. Yeah.
right? Now there could be a chain of thoughts that you revised. It's not just one thought because you would get bored with just one thought. And you're a
Yeah.
creative guy, right? So you might you
Mhm.
might you might have lots of thoughts following that one thought. Do you want to explore the root of all this and your hopelessness, extreme hopelessness, or
I want to. I mean, now that you say that, till now I thought that the root was the trigger, but it seems from your narration, your narrative, that it's not. That the trigger has already passed, but what still stays there is my thought. Is it the root? I mean,
even the thought is not the root. The root is even deeper. So now that's
this
brilliant.
is yeah,
It's actually liberating because you're not at the mercy of external events to feel hopeless or not to feel hopeless now onwards, because you can own up that my hopelessness is largely created by my own thoughts, which now I can respond to differently. So what does it mean? What
yeah.
I'm
It
trying to
it
do
does
now.
feel like a personal thing,
Yeah, it is personal, but don't beat yourself for that. But learn a skill how to respond differently, right?
right?
So
Yeah,
now in the next step, what I'm going to do is to find out the further root of your hopelessness, right? Where does your hopelessness come from?
sure,
Hmm. So would you
sure.
be cooperating in this next step?
Yes, yes,
Excellent. Okay. So what does it mean to you if things don't work out? This is not going to work out. This is what you said, right?
yeah. This is not going to happen.
And let's assume worst case scenario that this does not work out. Then what does that mean to you?
That now it is proven and fixed that maybe I am competent, but I'm not competent enough to be there, because there is some guy who is there, and I'm not that guy, and I'm not competent enough.
Okay. That sounds like an
Maybe
interesting thought. So can you write this?
yeah,
Draw a small downward arrow in it, in the B
B,
section. Yeah, in the B
right.
section, and write down that I'm not competent enough.
I'm not competent enough. Yeah. Yeah.
And what does that mean about you if you're not competent enough? This is the thought. I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm just asking, what does it mean about you as a person?
That, that there is an upper cap to my my abilities, basically. That this proves that I'm not able to reach there. I'm not able to grasp it, and that this is not, again, this is not going to happen to me. This is not meant to happen. Basically, the thought revisits itself,
No, you mentioned
reinforces
two
itself.
to three different thoughts. One is I'm not. There is an upper cap to my abilities. One.
Yeah,
Another is
yeah,
that things are not going to work out again, like the same thought, a prediction.
yeah,
My question was about
yeah.
yourself. Like, what does it mean about you if
I What does it mean about me? I think, yeah, it means that I'm not a competent enough person.
I'm
Yeah,
not competent enough, right?
yeah,
Okay, so write this down downward. I'm not competent enough means
yeah.
I'm incompetent.
That's what I said. I mean, I'm I'm incompetent to get this job. I'm incompetent for this particular selection.
Oh, okay, okay. So
Yeah,
write this down. In this context, I'm incompetent in this context. Is this what you want to say?
yeah. And this context means a lot to me because I have been preparing for it for so long.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's the word I wanted to hear. I'm incompetent in this context. Write this down in the B section. I'm incompetent in this context. So how are incompetent people like more worthwhile or less worthwhile?
that's worthwhile for
Less worthwhile,
this.
right?
Yeah, this particular thing. I mean, they can be a very worthwhile teacher or a dancer, but for getting a job in Germany, they're not worthwhile. Yes.
So there are two things here happening here. One is a general label that you had attached to yourself, which is I'm incompetent in this context, not generally, but I'm incompetent in this context. And the another process that runs through your head is therefore I am less worthwhile.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now these run together. Usually, we call this as depreciation. That you're depreciating yourself because just the label is not sufficient. I'll give you an example. The some other day, one of my friends, like I have a love hate relationship with that friend. The friend said that you're looking like a gunda Shishir now, and I say like, okay, that's a compliment. Thank you very much. And the friend was like surprised. I just called you a bad label, and how come you are happy about it? And then I said like, yeah, I worked for this look for a long time, and I think that's a compliment. So even if I did accept that label, but I looked at that label as a compliment rather than depreciation. So just a label is not sufficient to make you feel bad about yourself. I think the depreciation part, which is therefore I'm less worthwhile, is what makes you feel really bad. And when you
Mhm.
call yourself incompetent and less worthwhile, how do you feel?
Bad about myself,
And
and
that label is that feeling is
it's shame.
shame. Yeah.
It's yeah,
Mhm. So can you
shame.
write down C, shame? Shame is usually in a social context. So if other people know about me, my shortcoming, then I am less worthwhile.
True, it's true. And other people sometimes don't mean your classmates or your colleagues. A lot of time
In
it
this situation, if nobody knew about it, would you still feel upset?
I would have for sure because there is an image that I have created in my own mind about
So
myself.
I think there was shame and another feeling, whereas you were self-depreciating regardless of other people knowing,
Yeah,
and that
re-
feeling is
regret here,
what's that?
regret.
Not regret. I would say self-depreciation is self-downing or feeling depressed.
Yeah, it's a negative self-talk, but to pin it down to a feeling or a reaction, it's difficult. I mean, I know what
Can
it
you
feels
say
like.
self-downing? Would that
Yeah,
be a better feeling? Self-downing.
Yeah, self-downing should be fine because yeah,
Okay, so
self-downing
write this down in
sounds good because
self-downing
in
C,
my
C
case,
section. Self-downing.
yeah, self-downing,
Do you see
self-downing.
how self-downing is connected to your hopelessness?
So for me, it's a kind of circular reaction. Whenever I feel hopeless, it's because uh, I have been self-downing myself, and it feels that I'm not self-downing myself for nothing. Things have happened which are proof that uh, you have got to be self-downed. Basically,
You deserve to
you
be
should
self-downed, right?
feel you should feel ashamed, right? Because what you
All right.
thought
Okay. So
wouldn't be.
so you see the connection, right? What I'm implying is the connection is
I do. I
two-way
mean,
connection. It's not a unilateral connection.
yeah, it kind of reinforces the feelings, kind of
Exactly.
reinforce
Correct.
themselves
Correct.
by just
Yeah.
appearing. And
Yeah. So
yes,
because you self-downed after the HR's announcement, you also
right,
predicted in future that this is not going to work out because anyway I am a hopeless person. I'm an incompetent person, and it is
exactly.
justified.
Yeah,
Hmm. It is justified that things are not going to work out
yeah,
in
I
my
have proof. Yeah, I have proof for that
I have
because
proof for
whereas I don't have proof,
I have
I don't
proof.
have proof that I am worthwhile
Right.
in any degree, basically.
Okay, I get it. And then that also leads to feeling hopeless. So my
Yeah,
point is, you first feel deep down inside, you feel what we call as self-downing about yourself, that I am a hopeless person, I'm incompetent, and therefore you make a prediction that this justification that things are not going to work out in my favor gets
they're not gonna work
reinforced
out. Yeah,
because you have sufficient evidence in past that things have not worked out in your favor.
exactly.
You have not
Yeah,
done enough or you have lacked the skills and expertise to do things in a certain way, right? And then it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. We call this a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you do predict that things are not going to work out in your favor, you also create more and more evidence to the belief that you are incompetent.
yes, I do. Yeah,
Because you wasted two days in sulking and not applying for a new job, which could have raised the possibility from zero to somewhere between 0 to 100.
yeah. Mathematically, yes, but
Mathematically.
emotionally, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty
But you
hard.
stayed in the cycle of sulking and probably lost opportunities. I do not know whether you really lost it, but I say that if you had applied for another job, the possibility would have been
Yeah, there is a
somewhere
possibility
between
that
zero
I
to
did
hundred.
lose it. Yes,
0 to 100.
yes,
But
yes.
because you didn't, the possibility remained zero, which worsened or reinforced your belief
Exactly.
that
Yes.
correct, right? So I'm more interested in this belief, not just the superficial thought that things are not going to work in my favor. The belief about yourself that you're incompetent in certain situations, that is making you hopeless and self down.
Right.
Do you think that this belief is accurate?
Mm, I this belief wouldn't have been there in a couple of times or three times, but because it has happened so many times in series, it has kind of solidified the belief.
That's not the answer to my question. Let me ask you another way. How
Yeah.
convinced are you that you are incompetent if things don't work out in your favor?
And I'm pretty much convinced to the power of convinced because it's always relative, because you always see someone there who's doing that, who's working on it. It makes you feel that someone is competent enough, and you
You
do
want to
believe
check
that.
this belief because this appears to be the root of your hopelessness and also root of your self downing. Would you want to examine this belief?
Yeah, if there is something to be examined, then why not? But I think my 2 days of rumination kind of makes me do that.
Are you
Yeah,
also convinced that your hopelessness and self-downing comes from this belief rather than the actual possibility that things may not work out in your favor?
it's based on this belief. Yes.
Yes, I like this. I like this emotional responsibility. My belief is contributing to my hopelessness. That's again good news because now you can change it.
It will be changed only if I get the job, right?
I wish we all wish that.
Yeah, but isn't that the
So do you want to
reality?
wait till 93 years? Sahil Jaiswal has got this job and now finally it's proven that he's competent. Do you want to wait till that time?
Not 93, of course, but it does. It's in my head that
So with
maybe
this
when
with
I'm
this kind of speed, ruminating for 2 days after every rejection, I
yeah,
really doubt.
93 is pretty close. It does feel like that. So, but
Why
yeah,
don't we
you see
simply
this.
wait till the situation changes? Just wait for that. I'm with you on that.
No, but I mean, the only way that I see myself smiling and celebrating and finally leaving behind my thoughts of negativity is when I finally board the plane. If that makes sense. Only then it will reinforce the fact that I'm not incompetent now. That the belief is finally left behind.
So do you want to wait till that, or you want to
No, I
work towards
don't.
it?
No, I don't. But I don't have anything else to make to fill it with something. Basically,
No, no, no. You have what we call as conditional self-acceptance. That you will accept yourself in some way
yeah.
only if external situations are fulfilled. Good luck with that. Good British luck with that. That self-acceptance, I am good enough only if these external conditions are met, has a big trap, and that's what you are falling in. Your emotions would go roller coaster depending on your success and failure.
Yeah, but
Okay, so
uh,
if let's take it this way, you want to drink water, or probably you got a nice milkshake, and then you're riding a car, but the road is really bad and it's like in a very jumpy ride. Would you be able to drink that milkshake?
no, it's no,
No,
definitely.
it's
Yeah,
a jumpy ride, right? In a similar way,
right.
your emotions are jumping up and down, up and down, up and down, depending on what happens outside. Now, that's a jumpy
Right.
ride. Are you really able to focus on yourself or your career,
No,
or whatever
mm,
actions need to be done?
from this perspective, I'm completely focused on the external situations.
Hmm. So you're only focused on the bad road, not on drinking milkshake, right?
Yeah, the potholes
And you're
that are
saying that
coming. Yeah,
the only way to drink milkshake is get on the highway. That's the only way I can drink milkshake. You're forgetting that
yes.
your car has very bad shock ups. If you just use good shock ups on your car, maybe you will have a smoother ride and probably able to drink the milkshake even if the road continues to be bad.
But then again, it comes to the same point that am I able to get those good shock ups because it has been a history of bad shock ups. So, am I even able to get those good shock ups at
I am
any point
intrigued
in
by
my
this
ride?
word able to, right? I'm going to come back to it later,
Yeah,
but let's stick to this, that you have conditional self acceptance,
yeah,
and that is a problem.
yes, it is.
So you're really convinced that you are competent only under certain circumstances, right?
Yeah, at certain boxes get ticked. Yeah.
Hmm. Do you think this belief is helping you in some way to reach your goal? The today's goal was to feel realistically optimist and not hopeless.
No, no, it's not helping.
Mhm. Let's also check this belief if it is really true. See, Sahil, I am with you. I do not know you, but I'm with you that you may be lacking certain competencies. For instance, you may have knowledge deficit, you may have skill deficit, you may have certain behavior deficits. For instance, you might be procrastinating doing something.
Hmm.
I'm with you on that. You have certain deficits in knowledge, skills, competence, behaviors. No argument about it, right? But how does that mean that you are incompetent?
because I don't have those competencies.
The more accurate word would be you lack certain competencies.
Right.
And you are saying you are incompetent. There is a difference in these two.
So this is a pretty much binary game for me. That if I don't know how to use Microsoft Excel, then I'm incompetent.
You are incompetent. You are incompetent. For instance, I have a phone. I
Right.
am not a phone.
Yeah, this detachment is pretty obvious.
I do not have a Mercedes, but does that define me, or it only defines my things that I have and I don't have?
Mm, You can get rich enough to get the Mercedes. So you don't have it right. You don't have it right now.
But does
But
does that define me?
no, it doesn't. Not this
Only
singular
it
thing.
defines my possessions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, does this label describe you fully and accurately that you are incompetent?
Okay, so I am incompetent, but Sahil is not just incompetent, is
Yeah, there could be
what?
many more other things. For instance,
Yeah,
negatives and positives, right?
yeah, exactly. I was trying to,
Yeah.
not put you
For
in
instance, you
negatives, but
have better
yeah,
hair than I do.
right. Yeah,
Now
on
that
the
is a
upper
possession.
side of
That's a
the
physical attribute, right? But does that
exactly.
define you fully? If I were to write a letter like a guy with good hair, is it
Right.
gonna reach you?
No, of course
If
not.
I write a letter, then the incompetent guy, is it gonna reach you?
No, not the same
Because
way
it is
it
not
is.
your identity, right?
Yeah.
My point is, it does define your incompetencies, but it does not make you incompetent. For instance, let's say that I just barked. Now that's my behavior. I barked like a dog, but does that make me a dog?
No.
It describes one of my aspects, which is my behavior. So I'm with
Right.
you that you are someone who lacks certain competencies, who has, omitted certain behaviors. But when you also say,
Mhm.
and therefore I'm incompetent, that is a little too much to say about you, as if you're defining yourself based on these two, three things.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally concerned about getting the job, and these two, three things are important.
Fine,
And
I'm with you on that.
because
So you
mhm,
also need another label for yourself. That if
okay,
you're not
yeah,
incompetent, then who are you? Are you competent? Does that label describe you?
no, not at all. I mean, yeah,
Neither,
of
right?
course
So
not. Yeah,
there has to be a neutral level. I don't want you to think positive about yourself, that I'm great, I'm competent, I'm successful. No, no, no. I want you to have a neutral label and also be realistic about your identity. That this is me who also has certain things in favor, who also lacks certain things.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if just competent doesn't describe me, then it is completely possible that also only incompetent doesn't describe me.
Exactly. Yes, there
And
has
it's
to
just
be
benefit of doubt that you have created in me, so I'm, you know, tracking on that. So yeah, only incompetent doesn't define me.
another label that encompasses all these labels, not only incompetent but also you know someone who makes good Maggie, probably. You never know.
Yeah, there are always good traits, but as obsessive as someone could get with their objectives, again, the thing would say to me, how will you get the get the competency of making a good Maggie to getting that job, basically?
My only point is one label does not describe you fully and accurately. I
It
want you to
doesn't.
come up with another neutral label that has all these things included. For instance, your competencies, your incompetencies, your physical attributes, your limitations of physical attributes, your financial, your emotional, your mental, your intellectual, your social, your academic, your professional. and so on. So like there are lots of attributes in you that could have strengths and limitations at the same time.
I am a struggling guy. I am a struggler. I'm a,
Is that
I'm
all?
trying.
Does that really fully describe you? Come up with something more neutral. Struggling guy has such a negative connotation.
Yeah. Uh, in the current situation, the only thing that comes up to my mind is that I'm trying. Sometimes that I reach to some level which makes me feel good, but then downfall makes me feel bad. So, what would be it? And it's difficult to pin down to encompass all of this into just
Starts
one
with the
word.
H.
All right. I mean, if it does end with an N, so yeah, a human
You know
after
it,
all.
right?
I
Yes.
do, yeah. I mean, because a lot of people throw it on me, but you don't kind of just stick to it. Okay, you are a human after all. You are a human after all. I say that if I am a human, why wasn't I? Why didn't I prove my competence then?
That's what human beings do. My point is, under the umbrella, I am not gonna say that it was okay to lack so those incompetencies. I'm saying that not having competencies only makes you human, does not make you incompetent. And because you're human, you always have
Yes.
an option or a choice to learn these competencies, master these competencies. So under the umbrella that I'm human,
Yeah, exactly.
you're not gonna use it to say that it is okay to lack competence. No, it is very, 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 very important that you have these competencies in you. But remember, the
Hmm.
competencies would be rather used as a verb, not as an adjective. The adjective you want to use is human. So don't turn these nouns into adjectives.
Right. That makes sense. But again, to say that I am human is kind of always having that buffer down there, always having that
No.
pillow down there.
So the current statement is that for having these incompetencies, I am only human.
Yeah,
That probably you think that that's going to make you complacent, right?
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna make mistakes and it's okay
So
because I'm
let's
a human.
rephrase that word, the statement that even if I'm human,
Yeah,
I can still work on my incompetencies.
yeah. Even if
Does this make
I
a little
am
more
a
sense to
human.
you? So it does not demotivate you, or you're not going to use it against yourself.
So you say that even if I am human, I
Human,
can work on my incompetencies.
correct.
It, um, yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, so write this
Yeah,
down in the B section. New belief.
right. You believe even if I am a human,
And
I
not incompetent. Huh? This is very important. And not incompetent.
even if I am a human and not incomplete.
So you're using the label human and not incompetent. Incompetent is an adjective,
Mhm.
right? Comma.
I
I
can
can
work on my
I can work
incompetencies.
on my competencies, right? Or incompetencies, whatever you want to like. Now, how is this going to make you realistically hopeful?
How indeed? Because this statement and a certain sense of realization makes me feel that if failures have happened, there is an equal possibility that success also might happen. And it's just math because, if failures have happened, then maybe I can do something to make success happen. And this has to be based on this belief. It
You
has
also
to
seem to
come
have,
from here.
that's wonderful what you have said, and I think you're on track, absolutely on track. But what I sense more here is like you have a black and white vision of success and failure.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I
we can
do.
work on in the next session if we have. But I think that's some area that we'll probably have to work on, right? why don't we break it down to simple behaviors that you can do to increase the chances of getting a goal? And let's not call it success or failure, but getting a goal would be getting a new job, right?
Right.
So would you do away with these labels, success, failure, for now?
Yeah. If yeah,
I mean,
for
does it
the
really help you?
context.
How does it help you to call it success and failure? I mean, like, oh my God, these are so black and white terms. Instead, simply say that I want to get a job because I want this money. It's gonna improve my quality of life.
Yeah, it is that is the meaning of it.
No,
I
it's
I
not. It's different. If you attach success to job, it's just an additional burden. Oh my God, I did not get a job. Disappointing. Oh my God, I failed. That is so depressing.
It is, but I mean, I want a job because of the money.
That's it. Keep it there. I want a job because of the money. But if you call it success and
Okay,
failure,
so you want
it's a
me
huge
to
burden.
extrapolate it that
Exactly. Yeah,
right
that's you
that
got the point.
yeah. So I want the job because I want the money because and if I'm not getting the job, doesn't mean I'm a failure.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, it does sound like a possibility, but at the current state of mind,
Yeah, we're gonna work on it in the next session, not now.
yeah,
But let's
yeah.
stick to the hopelessness part. Do you think that if you called yourself human instead of incompetent, you will be more realistically hopeful when bad news like this comes to you?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, because I was,
great. We are on track, right?
yeah,
So, but this does
yeah.
not come automatically. I want you to monitor your thoughts in this week. That whenever an adversity happens that suggests that you might not achieve the goal that you had aimed for, you want to ask yourself a question.
The question B, so that I note it down and repeat it.
Yeah.
Yourself.
If my worst case predictions come true,
Mhm. Right.
how does it
Mhm.
mean
How does it mean?
I'm incompetent and
Right.
not human
And right.
with certain incompetencies?
And this is by far the best question that I would be asking myself if I do get a failure. But I just hope I do get the chance to ask this because I told you the the journey from the trigger to
You will get,
being
you,
hopelessness. It's very fast.
you're an expert in moaning. So, during the morning, you could pick this up
Yeah.
and, ask.
Thank you to remind that to me and to everyone else here. Yeah, 85 people. Thank
No,
you, people.
even if
Yeah.
you do upset yourself initially, you may choose to stop this upsetness later. I'm not saying that, in the first
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Right. So this it doesn't have a time value
No, no,
attached
no,
to
no,
it.
no. You can
Right. Yeah.
stop this anytime. You can ask this question anytime. The
Right.
best
Right.
time to ask this question is before you know that you failed.
Yeah, but that's also ideal at
Yeah,
the
yeah, that's
current
very
mindset
ideal.
and
You
yeah.
could prime your brain by asking a question like, now I'm going for a very important job interview. There's a good chance that I might be rejected. And if this happens, how? So, beforehand you go and then you prime your brain
Right.
with this question. And then there is a great chance that you might not have such severe hopelessness. And if you do get hopeless, do ask this question again. Another question might
Right.
be kept as a backup, like, how does calling myself incompetent help me,
Mm.
or how does calling myself incompetent motivate me to break this cycle? Do you know what cycle we are talking about?
Cycle of hopelessness and shame and self downing, moaning, hopelessness, self downing.
There's something in between, not achieving your goals in between.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, hopelessness, not
yeah,
achieving your goal, shame,
right,
hopelessness, not achieving
right.
your goal, shame,
Mm.
or self downing, and then it goes on. but
goes
the
on.
event remains the same, that you don't achieve your goals.
Not achieving the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does calling myself incompetent help me or motivate me
Motivate me.
break the cycle? Okay, that's good for today.
Right.
What was most helpful in today's session?
A possible shift in perspective. I wouldn't say that it is a shift in perspective. It is a possible shift in perspective, because you must understand that repeated failures have kind of primed my mind, and I am trying to reviral the neural pathways. It's well, external things have proved me some things, and it's like there. It's a big party. Like about 50 big people have proved me. 50 big people, 25
What was
big
most
people have
helpful
been.
in today's session? Like you went back on the track of moaning.
It's I that even if all my thoughts, if I do consider that I am a human and I have these incompetencies don't, they are not me. They are not my identity, basically. I'm
Wonderful.
more than my incompetencies.
Different than my incompetences. Like, I'm
Right,
human.
yeah, different than. Right, exactly.
Excellent. Yeah.
There's
I
a
just
lot
wanted
more
you
to
to
it,
accept yourself,
basically.
instead of conditional acceptance that I'm good only in certain situations, I want you to accept yourself
Because it does
unconditionally under
apply to
all
you.
circumstances, that you are human.
Right.
Neither good nor bad. You're human.
It applies to almost every kind of disappointment that happens. So, yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, just because you're human, it's not okay to lack these competencies. It's not okay to fail. It's not okay to not achieve these goals. These have consequences. So
Right.
being human, you can also get what you actually aimed for. Right. Okay. Anything that was not helpful in today's session?
Uh, I think there wasn't anything that wasn't helpful. It's just that maybe I don't know if it is the way, but maybe we could have focused more on the trigger, because for me the trigger is the thing, you know, and I don't focus much on the thoughts because they just come and go. But the trigger is the thing. I think we could
You
have.
focus on the trigger all the time, right? Has it helped?
It hasn't really. It
So
hasn't.
let's try
Just
something else now. We'll experiment with focusing on the B rather than the
fair
A,
enough.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's give it a
Fair enough.
fair chance. And because you have
Absolutely.
practiced the rumination part over and over again for, I think, thousands of hours, I think the only way to get over that neural pathway is to create a new one and practice that one. So why don't we set up a small experiment in this coming week, so that you can
Hmm.
practice the new neural pathway that you were talking about? How
Yeah.
about
Yeah. That's
applying for an interview, getting rejected, and then feeling self-downing, and then asking these questions again? The process of asking questions would be really helpful. So could you create some opportunity where you might actually be rejected?
I've got an interview coming up on 20th.
Okay, so that's a good opportunity. And
Yeah. I've
the goal is to feel self-downing and then ask these questions to yourself and see if there is a difference in your feelings, right?
right. Yeah. It's a dangerous one, but I'll do it. Yeah.
All right. So ask questions beforehand. That would be also good, right? How
Yes.
likely
Yes.
are you to do this homework?
Um. Uh, I am going to do it because I know that I have to ask this question to myself before the interview.
Yeah, that's
So
very
I
likely that you can do that, right?
exactly. Yeah. I know the time. I know what I have to do. So yeah.
Excellent. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna stop this session right now. Thank you, Sahil, for volunteering to discuss a very sensitive issue all by yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now,
Absolutely.
as there is a request from audience for question answers. Definitely. Okay. So now you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Right. So please ask your questions, whatever they are. Please raise your hand first, and then you will ask a question.
Hi, sorry, I didn't raise a hand first.
No problem. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great session, but I'm a tobacco cessation counselor, so I help people quit smoking. But I just have one question, and that's very direct. I felt that this was probably there were two statements that I felt if I would have been on Sahil's end, I would have been felt that you were very rude to me. So was that intentional or okay, great. And secondly, when you become so confrontational, do you think it helps the client to come out of their anxiety or whatever their thought process is?
Very good point, Surabhi. I don't think I was rude, but what you probably mean to say that my warmth was very low in the whole session.
Not exactly the okay. So specifically when you said that when you become 93, then do you want to create? So that particular point was like a jittery point for me.
A rude shock, rude shock, right? Yeah. So that was a rude shock to him. And, I said that, fine, you want to wait till that point. I think that was not being rude, but a rude reality that he may want to continue till wait till, because I saw this pattern that he probably keeps focusing on changing the A, and he thinks that only way to achieve my goal is when A changes. So I might simply give him a real possibility that if you want to wait till you're 93, then fine, I'm with you. I also said I'm with you. But then he said, no, I don't want to wait till I'm 93. So let me find another way.
Secondly, saying that there might be a possibility that I will be at 93. I don't know. So it was like a low point for it. But then, okay, do you think that's important for sometimes to be that confrontational?
I was not confrontational. Confrontation means you see a disparity between the client's thinking and what they're doing. That is confrontation. So what you meant to say is probably I was being upfront. And I think it is very important to be upfront, at the same time be supportive from the other side. So that was sarcasm that I used as a form of humor. And I think humor was very, very important. As at the same time, I was watching his face. If he had shown some anger or some kind of disapproval, then I would use humor more carefully with him. But he didn't. He laughed it off, and that encouraged me to use humor more in the coming upcoming session. So I used humor.
I agree. The body language was not different. If I would have been him, I would have been like, my body language would have totally changed.
Then I would keep a watch on your face, your expressions. Even if you raised an eyebrow, I would be guarded that I don't have to use humor this way. Okay, but good point. Okay, more questions, please.
Sir, there's a question that is there any standard time for a session or
45 minutes? Yeah, 45 minutes of REBT sessions, CBT and REBT, 45 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, more questions, please.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, do we at any stage start by even reflecting the feelings of the client? Because at one point when he did say, I feel regret, and you're like, no, I don't think it's regret. And you're actually telling him what he feels. Instead of that, is that really right? Can we really tell a client what the client feels? Or is it because you feel that there is a lack of vocabulary over there and you're giving him more words to put it? How does it go about?
See, in REBT, we assume that there are two sets of feelings. One is a healthy negative emotion, another is unhealthy negative emotion, right? Now, regret, disappointment, these are healthy negative emotions. And what he mentioned was, this is confrontation, actually. I did not put words into his mouth, but when he said that he had a different thought and then he felt regret, I said that doesn't sound like regret. For instance, if I was to say that, I felt like hitting him and this is my thought. And then I say that I felt so anxious when I thought so. Now there is a disparity between what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. So the therapist is going to confront me. Hey, it doesn't sound like anxiety. It sounds more like anger to me. So this is what I did, was confrontation, that your feeling does not match your narration. And that's what I did. So it's not putting words into their mouth, but it's confrontation where you correct their emotional vocabulary. And then if he did not still agree to the label that I had given, then I would clarify it again that this is the script of regret, this is the script of depression, this is the script of Self-downing, if you notice that, I did not use my word, which is depression, for him. I used alternatives. So it could be self-downing, it could be depreciation, it could be anything. So I used his vocabulary or what we agreed on. So self-downing was what we agreed on. Technically, it's the depressive feelings. So yeah, you can't put words into client's mouth, but you can definitely propose an emotional vocabulary and a label to them. Someone has asked me a question that you asked question about suicide intention isn't like putting these thoughts into their mind. No, asking about suicide never puts thoughts into the client's mind about suicide. It never encourages the clients to commit suicide. So asking a question about suicide, we have research to support this. This is not what I am saying. We have research to support this. And it is extremely crucial for you to ask thoughts about suicide, intentions about suicide, and plans about suicide. And they never induce ideas of suicide into a client who is non-suicidal. We have research evidence to support this. Okay, more questions, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Srividya.
Hi.
And yeah, I really like the way in which you made the BC connection there. When you connected his thoughts, like made him uh, somewhat kind of convinced, or the thought is what is bothering you, or that is causing the consequence. That was very well done. I really liked it. And also I also liked there was a little confrontation, I believe, there also. If the thought did not affect you, then why were you upset for 2 long days?
Right.
So that was very good, well done. It is somewhere make the client understand that the trigger factor is there, but still the thought is the more dominant thing that is causing the reaction, or emotional reaction. So that I liked. I just wanted to give that feedback. Otherwise,
Thank
whole
you. I
session
thought there
was
was a
good.
question. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, it is important to spend a lot of time on BC connection, and do not dismiss the role of A here. I'm saying that A does contribute but does not cause the C. Neither does the B cause C. B largely contributes to C. That's an amazing observation. Wonderful. More questions, please. Let's take some questions from YouTube. Yeah. Somebody said that, can you not ask Sahil to do some alternative helpful behaviors like exercising instead of ruminating? That's a good one. Yeah, if I had a little time, then I would have come up with a new reaction also. That instead of feeling hopeless, he would probably feel hopeful, realistically hopeful, and instead of ruminating, he could have spent time in a helpful reaction. That's a good one. That's something that could have added, but I think I missed it. A new reaction could have been a more helpful reaction. Anything else? Okay, more questions, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
This is thank you for the session. Being a psychology student, it was very helpful. I have 2 questions. One is you asked the client to turn off his video. So, for obvious that you have noticed some behavior patterns. So,
Yes.
what were the behavior that you noticed?
Again, it is very, very important for me to observe nonverbal communication. There is usually a disparity between what the client says and what the client actually feels. I am extremely, I would say, I'm careful and I'm sensitive to the nonverbal communication. So it is important that I continue to see the client, because I use humor a lot and I need to use it carefully. So I watch the client all the time when they are, when I say something which is important, when I crack humor, when I ask them a question, when they tell about a difficult situation, there is always nonverbal communication that I watch. Many times, client show a change in their emotion in the session. That's a good opportunity where their thoughts, the dysfunctional thoughts, could have been active. And that's when I ask, hey, what are you thinking right now? So there are many reasons why I ask client to keep their video on, and these are a few of them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, also one question that interns.
Say that again. I lost you.
do you entertain interns,
Okay.
psychologists?
All right. Yes, I do. So, you can check all the details on morphicminds.com. I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Any questions? We have 6 more days to go tomorrow onwards. Tomorrow we're going to discuss depression. So whoever wants to volunteer, please write to me first. And then, I will send them a little bit of brief evaluation so that we don't spend a lot of time in evaluation during the session. Okay. Thank you for your great support. And I hope to see you tomorrow again and for the next 6 days. Bye-bye. Take care and have a good night.